What's up, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer and Tyler Horka from Blue and Gold with another video talking Notre Dame football. This one, we're focusing on the depth chart. Tyler and I also talked about some quick hitting notes from Marcus Freeman's press conference that he held at noon on Monday, noon Eastern, that is. Also have up a Marcus Freeman press conference video. So make sure you check all of this out again on the Blue and Gold YouTube channel. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if you have not done so. Okay, Tyler, let's take a look at the depth chart. We're going to have to go through these quickly if we don't want to be on here for too long, and Tyler's got to go back and write some articles for our website. The wide receivers, and this is a two deep, right? You got Lorenzo Styles at one receiver, Jaden Thomas at the other, and then Braden Lenzy. Your reaction to this? I know that's a first team unit you guys had seen at receiver, but still seems interesting nonetheless.
It is crazy that with everything that happened with the Notre Dame wide receivers room throughout fall camp, that the three guys that we saw running with the first team on August 5th, the first day of camp, are the three guys that you see atop the depth chart right there. What I thought was going to happen was the Avery Davis injury was going to force Lorenzo Styles back into the slot because you lose Davis, a quick, shifty guy who can do things in the middle of the field. You've got to put Styles back in there because he's the same type of player. I think Styles is a little more versatile, though, and that's why you see him right there playing the boundary, starting at the boundary. They think that he can do things inside and outside that no other Notre Dame wide receiver can do. So they're confident in leaving him there. And this also tells me that they're confident that Jaden Thomas, who dealt with a hamstring injury throughout fall camp, is healthy enough to play in the slot and enough of a playmaker to play in the slot. He's still going to have to kind of prove that to me because, you know, he's a bigger guy. I think Marcus Freeman even called him thick or used one of those adjectives to say, like, hey, he's got a big body, he knows how to use it. You don't really think big body slot receiver. So that's going to be interesting. But I think Braden Lenzy is as good as he's ever been at Notre Dame right now. And that's why you see him there starting at field with Joe Wilkins, by the way, who looks pretty good as well. So I'm interested to see how that rotation plays out.
Part of me with some of this depth chart stuff is just like, other than like offensive line and quarterback, it's like everyone's going to play. It's just we'll have an article after the Ohio State game, I think Monday or Tuesday, on the snap counts. That might be a little bit more telling, but so much of this stuff, like, let's go to the offensive line. Joe Walt, left tackle. Jarrett Patterson listed as left guard, and he's still questionable. Tyler talked about that in our other video. Center Zeke Correll, right guard Josh Lugg, right tackle Blake Fisher. That is set. Like, there's not going to be offensive line rotations. I mean, that was short answer, Tyler. That was pretty much to be expected. That first team unit that is listed.
Yeah, no surprises there. At least as far as the depth chart is concerned, those are the five guys that you expect to see at the top. It was the five guys that started fall camp, and then Patterson obviously went out with that foot injury in the later part of camp. If he can't play, everybody has either been saying it's Andrew Kristofic or it's Rocco Spindler. I was leaning Kristofic just based on what I was seeing, but it looks like Spindler has done enough to deserve those left guard reps if Patterson can't go. Nothing truly surprising there, though. The two deep is exactly what you would have expected if you're a Notre Dame fan.
All right, yeah, and then tight end Michael Mayer, Kevin Bauman, Davis Sherwood. Any surprises there for you, Tyler?
Yeah, Sherwood would be the surprise because I think you have a sophomore in Kane Barong who is healthy and missed most of last season with his injury. I think he's deserved probably the number 3 designation. But look, Davis Sherwood just got placed on scholarship a couple weeks ago. He's obviously deserved it as well. So I think you have a wealth of riches at tight end. Just because those are the 3 names that you see on the depth chart doesn't mean those are the only 3 guys that you're going to see on the field. You're going to see a sprinkling of Barong and the freshman Eli Raridan, Holden Stays. I think a lot of those guys will end up playing.
I think that's kind of just at least on the offense side of the ball, and I'm sure it will be on defense too. That's kind of the tone of this video, is like depth chart, schmepth chart. I mean, it's like Jaden Thomas being listed as a starter here doesn't mean that he's going to play a ton. I mean, it could be a ton of 2 tight end, 3 tight end personnel, so we'll see. Obviously, Tyler Buchner starting quarterback. We knew about that. Just quick thoughts before we move over to defense. No starting running back listed. Chris Tyree, Logan Diggs, Audric Estime, all listed as an or, Tyler. Any surprise to you there, or is it, again, just kind of a thing of Marcus Freeman, Tommy Rees, Al Golden, these coaches just not wanting to give away too much?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a part of what you just said, but it's also that those are 3 really good running backs. And I know Tyree is a little more experienced than the other 2 guys, but I've been calling it a 3-headed monster. Let's get that going because these guys are all so different. Tyree, can hit you quickly with speed. He's gone in an instant. Estime's huge. He's going to bowl you over, but he can do some of those other things as well. Logan Diggs is a little bit of everything. He's the typical running back that you could see 3 downs. You need to run up the middle on first down, go ahead. You need to ask him to block on second down, go ahead. You need him to run a route on third down, he could do that as well. So you got 3 really good running backs, and that's why you've got a couple of oars on the depth chart there, because I think they're all going to play against Ohio State. The only surprise would be Logan Diggs, man. This guy just tore his labrum in his shoulder like 4 or 5 months ago, and he's already ready to take hits from some Power 5 Ohio State number 2 in the country defensive players. So that's a little bit surprising, but based on what we've been seeing the last couple of weeks, it seemed like his timeline was a little expedited, and he was on track to play against Ohio State.
Going to the defensive line, Isaiah Foskey, your number 1 Viper, followed with Justin Adamalola or Jordan Botelho. We got Jason Adamalola at 1 defensive tackle spot. You got Howard Cross third at another interior D-line spot. Riley Mills, that big end, strong side end position. No real surprises here, Tyler?
Nope. Again, that's the theme, is that you've got a bunch of guys who could play. You knew who those starters were going to be. Those 4 defensive linemen, kind of exactly what you expected if you would have had to come up with a depth chart probably 2 weeks ago. Howard Cross is obviously a little bit of the wild card there. Never been a starter in his career. Riley Mills has only started, I think, a couple of games. He started against Virginia last year. I know that because Myron Tagovailoa-Mosa was out, but those are the guys that you thought were going to be there. Howard Cross has really come on strong. He's had an awesome camp. He's kind of a quicker defensive tackle to go along with Jason Adamalola, who's obviously got all the size and all the strength in the world. So I think you've got a well-rounded unit there with the defensive linemen. And Marcus Freeman said today on Monday that you're probably going to see 8, 9 defensive linemen within the course of a game. So everybody you see on the 2 deep right there is going to play, and maybe even some third stringers will get meaningful reps as the season goes along as well.
The linebacker spot, Maris Lufau is probable per Marcus Freeman, so we expect him to start. Not a clear mic with J.D. Bertrand and Bo Bauer listed as an or, and then the rover spot is Jack Kaiser. So was that about what you expected, Tyler?
Interesting to see Bertrand backing up Kaiser at rover, and then I'm standing a couple of feet away from my phone, but so correct me if I'm wrong. But it says Kaiser is backing up Leofau at will linebacker. Is that right? Or am I totally off there?
No, that's correct.
So a couple of starters, listed as backups at other key linebacker positions. You thought you had a little bit more depth there, but that's where I will say, don't be alarmed, Notre Dame fans, because you have some of these freshmen. Like, is Junior Tui Halamaka not even listed on there, right?
He's listed as a backup Mike.
Okay, so he's the third guy at Mike. So you got him there. I think a couple of those freshmen, I wrote about them at blueandgold.com. Nolan Ziegler is really good. I don't think you see Jalen Sneed yet, but you've got depth at those linebacker positions. So just because you see Bertrand as a backup at rover, I think that's just because all these guys are cross-trained and they can play all these different positions. And it's a question to this day, is that the right combination of 3 linebackers? Are all of these guys playing the right positions? Could Leofau be better at rover? People were asking some of these questions. I think the linebacker group is kind of a wait and see. I don't know. It's kind of plug and play. We don't know if that's exactly how Al Golden wants those linebackers to roll out, say, in a month from now. But this month is going to be about figuring out where those guys play best.
All right, and I think we know less about who this is starting in the secondary after the depth chart came out, because we have at 1 cornerback spot Cam Hart or Tariq Bracy, at the other Clarence Lewis or Cam Hart. So Cam Hart could start at 2 positions. Maybe they cloned him. I don't know. Left safety DJ Brown or Houston Griffith. Right safety Brandon Joseph or Ramon Henderson. I mean, at safety, look, all 4 of those guys are going to play, and Brandon Joseph will probably play the most. Clearly, Cam Hart is going to start at one of the spots, and then Clarence Lewis and Tariq Bracy will one of them like a nickel, or maybe like Bracy's a nickel and Clarence is the other, outside corner. Is that kind of your read here?
Yeah, pretty much. One thing I'll say with the corners is I think Tariq Bracy is closer to maybe taking Clarence Lewis's outside corner spot than we might think. So that depth chart there is to tell you, hey, Clarence Lewis was our guy the last 2 seasons at corner, but he had that down game in the Fiesta Bowl, and if that translates into another down game against Ohio State, which there's a lot of corners in the country who are going to play poorly against Ohio State, that's not really a Clarence Lewis problem. But Tariq Bracy is a fifth-year guy who can step in there and say, all right, we're struggling at this spot right now. How do we get some help? Bracy might end up playing some outside corner reps this season. Clarence Lewis played like well over 800 of those last season. Marcus Freeman said today, that's not necessarily saying we don't know who's going to start. It's probably going to be Lewis. But if Lewis needs to come out for a series or two just because he's gassed chasing around those Ohio State wide receivers, then Tariq Bracy is more than capable of stepping in and giving him a little bit of reprieve there. And then he said, if you cloned Cam Hart, maybe that's what happened. I think Notre Dame would love to do that because that length, that corner doesn't really grow on trees. I think he's going to be really good. Brandon Joseph is going to be really good. You just got to have to figure out, is DJ Brown your best second safety? Is it Houston Griffith? Can Ramon Henderson take that leap that everyone thought he was going to take over this offseason? That's another one of those positions, kind of like the second cornerback position. It's just going to play itself out in games. There's only so much you can figure out over the course of practices when you're doing the same things. You're covering the same guys. You're just going to have to figure it out on Saturdays. And like you said a little earlier, finally we have a Saturday where Notre Dame is going to figure all this out because it is game week. And 5 days from now, the Irish will be on the field against the Buckeyes.
Tyler, you're putting in the work for us, so I hope you have a nice glass of water you can drink after this. I know it's hot out there, just outside the Compton Family Ice Arena. But one quick thing, let's go through the special teams. Nothing really surprising here. It looks like, Bryce McPherson won the kickoff job. Blake Grupe, place kicker, transfer from Arkansas State. John Sott, transfer from Harvard. Michael Vinson keeps his long snapping duties. John Sott will also be holding. Punt return, Brandon Joseph or Matt Salerno. I think that was to be expected. If you want that sure-handed guy, you put Salerno back there. If you want to return, throw in Joseph. And then it looks like Chris Tyree, remains the kickoff return specialist.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about special teams is I think a lot of people were worried coming out of the spring, especially after the blue gold game where I think 3 field goals were missed and Blake Grupe missed one of those. He's a lot more comfortable now. He has a friend in John Sott who won the starting punting competition. I'm expecting really good things from Sott. Grupe, everybody's expecting good things from him. Bryce McPherson apparently can be one of the best touchback guys in college football if you ask special teams coach Brian Mason. So a lot of these question marks where if you're looking 2 months ago, you didn't know who the heck was going to kick off. Marcus Freeman said today, if he had to choose, he's going to defer to the second half and kick the ball to Ohio State. 2 months ago, you had no idea who was actually physically going to be kicking that ball. Now you know that you have a guy in Bryce McPherson who can kick the crap out of the ball by all accounts. So you're solid there. I think a lot of people are solid on Grupe. You're solid on Sott. Chris Tyree, I mentioned his speed a little bit earlier. Took a touchdown back against Wisconsin last year. Really changed that game. Brandon Joseph, one of the most dynamic secondary players in the country. You got him returning punts. I think Notre Dame special teams is going to be really good, and I think a lot of that is because Brian Mason is a heck of a coach as well.
All right, folks. Appreciate you sticking around. Appreciate Tyler battling the heat and
the wind.
And the wind and talking this much for us. Make sure you hit the thumbs up to show your appreciation to Tyler. Subscribe to our channel for more excellent Notre Dame football coverage. We have much more coverage of Marcus Freeman's press conference today on our YouTube page, as well as our site, blueandgold.com. $1 for 1 year of premium access. Appreciate everyone for watching, and we'll catch you next time.